How are you? How's everyone doing? Let's get to the news about what's happening around the world. We have to start with an image of something that happened here in Mexico. Let's get into the details. According to what is being reported, what the video image shows is what she herself has uploaded. The Mexican Navy Secretariat says, with operational precision and naval intelligence work, Marines continue to carry out actions to locate and secure clandestine laboratories used for the production of synthetic drugs. This would reflect the preparation, discipline, and professionalism of the naval personnel who act strategically to prevent illicit substances from reaching Mexican families. And well, they show this image, where they get off a helicopter and, well, they are entering a place that is reportedly a lab, according to the reports. It's, well, part of the images that have surprised people today. Well, today is Sunday, May 17th. Let's discuss details of other topics and areas as well. Let me just tell you that there are actions being taken against Mexican politicians, and today it was claimed that a senator was arrested. But the senator responded saying that he is not under arrest. We'll review the details during the day to monitor progress. What's happening with Rocha Moya, with Rocha Moya's bank accounts being blocked, both his and his family's? Very serious situations are happening right now. And well, at the same time, these images are being shown, which are also important. We're not going into the details of what's happening in the world. Let's move on to another topic. Take a look at the following image. Are happening in Moscow, and once again, a drone swarm has reportedly struck the Russian capital. We're talking about constant attacks happening towards Moscow. This is the response after hundreds of drones attacked Ukraine 3 days ago. Well, the response has also been tremendous. And right now, we're still seeing images. And how the Russians themselves, the people living in Russia, are realizing that the war has reached them. It's a tremendous issue when we see that this drone structure, or rather this swarm of drones, has hit structures right in the city, in the very capital, in Moscow itself, which was unthinkable. Maybe in other times, according to reports, since yesterday, there have been a series of explosions and drone attacks by Ukraine, targeting areas mainly related to energy or government offices, but they've even been hitting the capital of Russia. There isn't a defense system to stop this, although the narrative from Russia is that they are. They say they're taking down, shooting down all these drones. Obviously, this isn't believable, especially because of the number of videos recorded by Russians themselves. Even though they've been forbidden from recording this kind of footage, in the end, people want to show, to witness, to document what's happening, even though sometimes there can be consequences if they're caught recording these kinds of attacks from Ukraine against Russia. No? Especially after the massive attack Russia carried out against Ukraine in recent days. Well, let's also move on to other important matters. Look at what's happening at this nuclear plant. A drone attack reportedly caused a fire at the Barak nuclear power plant, according to reports. This is in the United Arab Emirates. Look. The electric generator, which is located near the inner perimeter of the plant, but is still outside, was destroyed. This is according to reports from the authorities in Abu Dhabi, who are currently investigating what happened and how it occurred. In the United Arab Emirates, they assure that for now there are no injuries, and according to reports, the level of analysis has been raised to determine what is happening. The authorities are also ruling out any increase in radioactivity for now. In other words, there is no rise in radioactivity. That is very important in this matter. And once again, we return to the attacks on strategic areas of the United Arab Emirates. Let's go into the details of what is known. The most serious thing about this attack, that the drone hit the nuclear power plant. I mean, even though it struck the electric generator that's outside the area where the reactors are. Obviously, the risk is very high. The authorities in Abu Dhabi stated that there were no injuries and that there has been no increase in radiation levels at this time. But the symbolism of an attack is enormous. Saying we can attack or we can destroy the nuclear plant whenever we want is. In the end, it's a powerful and very unfortunate message. The plant, Barak, is not just any facility, it's the first and only nuclear power plant on the Arabian Peninsula and also the first commercial nuclear power plant in the Arab world. No one immediately took responsibility for the attack, but suspicion clearly points to Iran. All the experts and analysts say that this attack was carried out by Iran because of the type of drone that was used. Y cualquiera actividad militar. The IAEA, which is the UN agency in charge of nuclear issues, immediately expressed its concern and warned that any military activity near a nuclear plant is completely prohibited. And they are asking, obviously, that these kinds of places are not attacked. Donald Trump warned that Iran should move quickly toward an agreement because otherwise things are going to get complicated. The risk is greater, since if this attack is interpreted as a direct provocation against Iran, Israel and the United States increase the possibility of entering a new phase of war. The alert level has also increased, and this has been the case for a while now in Israel. In Iran or in the United Arab Emirates, there are nuclear facilities and there have been attempts to attack them. We must remember that the Iranians also have a nuclear plant on the coast of the Persian Gulf. And they also attacked the areas along the shores, let's say near the plant, but it did hit the plant. Luckily, there was no major damage. There is also a nuclear facility that was attacked where experiments are conducted and there is a nuclear reactor. It was also attacked by Iran. At this moment, I mean, in this war, let's say, and also now, this nuclear plant that has been attacked, clearly by Iran, although they obviously won't raise their hand and admit it was them. Obviously, the key point is that it's not just a single drone, but rather a warning about where the war is. If this moves forward, if this takes hold. And look, it's no coincidence that today Iran released a message. Yesterday, Donald Trump issued multiple ultimatums. And today, from the capital of Iran, from Tehran, a message is also being sent. It says the following: any new military action against its territory will receive a strong and severe response. According to the spokesperson of the Iranian Armed Forces, Abolfasi Sekarshi, he had given a diplomatic message, but also a military one. The warning was basically a threat towards Trump, towards the United States. In any case, he assures that they would also be ready to respond. And there are more details. Because look, Tehran reportedly gave Pakistan a proposal to reactivate their dialogue, which is viewed with suspicion. And we will have to see this during the day because it is suspected that it contains the same 14 points that the Iranians have been insisting on without any changes. The proposal. Supposedly it combines two key elements, which are the 14-point plan presented by Iran. But supposedly in this new plan they are going to have, or they are going to accept certain conditions from the United States. We'll see if it's true. During the day today, we'll probably say it or it will be revealed, because right now we don't have that information. We only saw the notice from Pakistan that they already had the proposal from the Iranians. I imagine it's sent straight to Washington and then elsewhere, which is very fast since it's all over the internet. So, in theory, this is going to create a last opportunity to enter a calmer period with a longer ceasefire. But today, Netanyahu also said he is prepared for any scenario. And we have to remember that Netanyahu and Trump are no longer. And let's go to well, it's not an easy situation. At the end of the day, the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the fact that intelligence says so, that the Iranians still have a large part of their military capabilities. Despite the fall of Ali Khamenei, Well, it shows that there is still a lot to do and that the regime is not collapsing, as Israel would like, or the United States would like, or even many of the Iranians themselves who would already like that regime to end. The Prime Minister assured that Israel would be prepared for any scenario, both for the conflict to escalate and to enter into some kind of ceasefire. He says, "We are watching the situation in Iran very closely. Today I will speak, there will be a conversation with Trump." Today, Netanyahu and Trump are going to have a call. And this is possibly the most important decision-making moment of this war, because it will be decided whether to open the Strait of Hormuz by force and to operate against Iran once and for all. Well, more forcefully. Either the troops are withdrawn, or at least some kind of partial withdrawal takes place. And so then to move into a phase in which the Iranians, in theory, open the Strait of Hormuz as well. I see that as complicated because they insist they are not going to do it. That's something that also needs to be taken into account. Hey, how have you been? I got straight to the news, but we're live. We're broadcasting live in case you're just joining. I'll be here. I'm paying attention. Actually, let me just keep the comments here where I can see them more easily. There you go. There's Julio. How's Julio doing? Oh, he claims it's due to opposition attacks, and now he sounds just like Calderón. That's what Julio said. Look, it's not an opposition issue. It's not like that. Regarding the conflict that's happening right now, or about the serious situation with organized crime being involved in politics, Morena is deeply involved. PAN is deeply involved. PRI. All the parties. And if there isn't a change, and if the government itself doesn't start making changes, it's going to be the same as always. It's always the same thing. Rocha is deeply involved, just like other Morena governors and also governors from other parties. But as long as this isn't seen, as long as the obvious isn't seen, right? That it's billions that they've taken, that's a significant sum of money. Unfortunately, very little is going to change in the country. So something has to be done with what we have right now. Yes, that Calderón messed everything up. Okay, but we're here now. We're in the present, and we have to go after all the parties, no matter which one it is, without fanaticism. That's what's important here, and I really hope they get their act together because things have gotten out of control. Honestly, it's gotten out of control. And look, it's not going to, organized crime, honestly, isn't going to disappear from the world. Right? But it always has to be limited and allow civilians to live their normal lives. And governments shouldn't be controlled by those kinds of groups because otherwise it's extremely difficult. You have to look at what happened in Italy, what's happening in Italy right now, and in Japan and many other countries where organized crime is and will continue to operate. No, it's not something that has shut down, Roy. In Italy, it continues to operate perfectly, even linked to the government, even linked to the infrastructure and government operations. Pero even in Italy or even in Japan, well, there is order. And unlike here, which is complete disorder, hopefully we don't end up on the other extreme of Calderonitis, right? Which was wanting to attack indiscriminately, which also brought its consequences to the whole country. And that's another negative point there. But we'll be here paying attention in the end since we have to keep checking these greetings. Dad says again, everything is new. Every new government comes in with its own group in hand. That's always been known. Dad with a huge comment. Greetings. Good to see you here. How have you been, Juana? How are you? How have you been? Eugenio? Greetings. Are you being honest? Did Iran capture 4,000 US soldiers? I want to know if that's true. That's false. No, there's absolutely no report of that. But I send you a big greeting, Eugenio. How have you been? Hello? It would be a scandal if they took one. Imagine 4,000. It would be mega, super scandalous, right? This would be going around the world. And well, at least for now, it's not. For now, it's not. Well, greetings. How have you been, Martin? Hello, huge greetings. Let's move on to other matters. Let's move on to other important matters as well. They are already warning that a new phase of the war is coming. The new phase in the end is not to end the Iranian regime, interestingly, But the new phase right now is to open the Strait of Hormuz. How interesting, because in the end, the one who sets the war objective is the one who ultimately has control. And yes, if this is only focused on the Strait of Hormuz, they still have control. Iran, if this escalates to a point where the regime is attacked, then it means that the ones really running it are the United States and Israel. But we know that, right? I mean, what the United States seems to want right now is to move to open the Strait of Hormuz. And that's it. And on Israel's side, it seems like they really do want to go against the supreme leader, Moqtasha himself. We don't know. We don't know what the path is. But today they're going to make that call. I don't know if they're going to make it public or not, but they're going to send signals. They usually do. So it will be very interesting if we see signs that this is going to turn not towards Hormuz, but really against the regime. Well, we know that it's a war that will possibly spread. If we see that it's Hormuz, then it might spread a little more, but not that much. Secure plot. He has given Iran a deadline to make a deal, and he says that if he doesn't get a response that satisfies him, supposedly he will finish them off. There will be nothing left of them. It's a warning that honestly means nothing. I mean, these are warnings that, as they say, are just words carried away by the wind. And in fact, I mean, Trump says one thing one day and something else the next day. So it's not really something that could actually happen, at least for now. He says, Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there will be nothing left of them. Time is of the essence, wrote the president on his social network. That already seemed strange to me because the comment is super brief, super short, when he usually makes them super long. Let's put it here. What's it called? Here it is. Look, it's right here. It's on his Truth Social account. And, well, there it says, for Iran. The clock is ticking. They'd better move fast. He says, and he says if not, then there will be nothing left of them. Time is of the essence. President of JT, and it shows the date published at 1:42 in the morning. Today, the 17th, every day he posts things. Every day. Every day. Or they post things for him, right? But the point is that there it is. Look at what an expert on Hormuz says, which I thought was very interesting to share here with you. Because I think that's what we've seen, and many of you here have mentioned it to me. So I think at least it's interesting to analyze it. The Strait of Hormuz. I mean, the fact that the war focused over there makes you think, according to this expert, and we'll talk about who he is. It makes you think that without Iran's cooperation, I mean, if Iran doesn't want to, Hormuz won't reopen. It's that simple. In other words, it's up to Iran whether to open the strait or not. The most important thing, according to this expert, is that right now they have the upper hand, so to speak, right? In other words, we're saying that during all these days, the Iranians' position in the Strait of Hormuz has only been getting stronger. There are 20,000 US sailors supposedly. Europe sent troops, and up to now, they've even increased their presence. Look, let's see how far the control has expanded. I mean, it started as control only in a kind of imaginary corridor here. And then it expanded almost to this area of the United Arab Emirates and expanded a little further over here. So in theory, you can't go through this whole area. Some people have taken risks. Well, yes, obviously some have taken risks and some have faced consequences for those actions. Look, that's the area this image is pointing to. Well, that's the key area because that's where they would be looking, this area. Let's say the southern part of the strait. Remember, it's 33 kilometers. But there are only a few corridors. I mean, it's not like they can cross through this whole area, but rather there are small corridors. For example, there's one up here, which is the one that will remain operational, and these others will be closed. They are closed off by laying mines and shooting at those who pass through here, so that everyone passes through that side and they can have complete control. And not only that, but also be able to go further and close the Strait of Hormuz whenever they want. It says the following: without Iran's cooperation, the Strait of Hormuz will not reopen, according to what it is. Operation Atalanta, a European Union operation, a mission that is aimed at countering piracy throughout the entire region. Yes, it is. Let's move back a little. This whole area is full of pirates. Yes, Somali pirates. And by the way, Yemeni pirates. And others from other regions have been operating in this area for a long time. Jonas and those pirates are an enterprise. They're organized like a company or operate like a company, where they even sell shares of their operations internally. Some people have profited from that. Let's call them the Luffy pirates, right? These are the Luffy pirates. Okay, right? Well, the Luffy pirates like Chapulín, Colorado, whatever, right? Everyone gives them a name and they present themselves as a company. I mean, they have shares and they say, okay, let's launch an operation, and they pull out a little book, right? And they say, okay, what's in this little book, right? Well, these are the operations. We're going to attack this ship, and they sell by mission. So for example, they say this is such and such mission, right? On this date, a ship like this will pass by. We're going to operate tomorrow. The whole operation costs about $300,000, more or less, because they're boats with high-powered engines. We'll bring them in. They're small boats, but they have powerful engines. They have long guns. They have some other things, right? They can still cause you a problem. They even sank a boat once. So they are dangerous, right? All the pirates are paid a salary, and then they leave. They guarantee a payment of around $300,000. They ensure everyone is paid, and if someone dies, their family receives a bonus. There's good money in it, but it's clearly very risky. If they manage to carry out the whole operation of taking the ship by force, they collect a ransom. It's not like they keep it. They can't do anything with that ship. I mean, having the ship is useless to them. They can't sell it, so they take the ship, claim it's theirs, and demand money for its return even with people still on board. So they ask for millions of dollars. And until they get the millions of dollars, once they receive those millions, they give a percentage to each of the pirates. They even pay them a percentage. I mean, it's an extra profit. And then everything else is divided among the shareholders. I mean, those who put together that money to be able to carry out that mission. They give them a share of the money. It isn't done there. So this is crazy, right? Because it grew and grew and grew and became like a kind of local industry. Much of this is documented, but people operate differently. Some pirates act alone and strike whenever they want. There's all kinds. Almost always they're local people from Africa, but there have also been people from other places too. I mean, who operate there like mercenary soldiers, so to speak. They have serious combat experience and some really crazy stuff, or they're tough. I've always wondered why they don't shoot him. I don't know. If it's self-defense and my life or my colleagues are at risk, you just don't know. Why don't they shoot? Well, it turns out that international laws prohibit it. You know, I mean, you can't defend yourself like that. So there are certain rules. And among those rules, well, you can only use very small weapons and things that don't really scare these people. They spray them with water. They throw things at them. I don't know. I mean, the point is that they can't defend themselves up to now, right? Some have done it, attacking and shooting at each other. And that's also documented, right? But it's always costly because there are fines, there are blockades, there are countries that block them for using things they shouldn't. So these companies get into trouble. According to what this anti-piracy mission reports, they confirm that it's unfeasible. It's simply unfeasible for the Strait of Hormuz to open if Iran doesn't want it to. If Iran decides to close it and keep it closed just because it feels like it, no one can do anything about it. That's what this expert reports, this association of experts on the subject, which, by the way, just to give full credit, is this organization. He gives an interview to DW, this German media outlet, and I found it super interesting. And look how crazy it is, because this topic is hardly ever discussed. There's a lot of talk about the mines, a lot about how they operate. But what isn't really said is whether it's truly possible to open it or not. Well, according to them, according to their experience, they're there. They've seen how all of this works. That's what they say. If Iran wants to keep it closed, they're going to keep it closed. And that's it. There's no way that's going to change. If they open it, it's because Iran said, we made a deal and it was opened. So that's why the issue is complicated. That's why, honestly, nobody knows what's going to happen with this situation. And it's a paradox, isn't it? Because in the end, the United States got involved in a mess that affects everyone. So it's like the classic case where someone has a lot of power in something and suddenly makes a move that hurts everyone. And then suddenly everyone says, well, we're not talking to you. No, we isolate you. We turn our backs on you. We're angry. You're very powerful. And it's not just that you're powerful, but your alliances are also important. Here, Trump's hope is that South Korea, maybe China, maybe Australia will get involved, and then the Strait will open because there are a lot of them, but not because they're going to be able to open the Strait right now. So who knows? A lot of things could happen. Obviously, as a team, we'll keep watching, but yes, we've seen that it's taken a while to open it because they don't want to or because they want to negotiate. No, it's because they can't. I mean, do you really think, and that's what I asked myself, I don't know. If they could open it, wouldn't they have done it already? They would have done it a long time ago. They would have figured it out perfectly. Oh, look, you have to do this, move this here. And yes, if the soldiers or the strategists would have told Trump, do this, this, and this, then you open it. And if it were a low risk, él took el loss. I mean, the risk would have been taken a long time ago, which means the rest is so high that they haven't. The risk is high and with little chance of success. So if the situation is complicated, they're in a really big mess and they've dragged us all into it. Because in the end, it affects everyone, even the Iranians. I mean, because it's not easy for the Iranians either. I mean, the Iranians are going through a crisis. They have an internal problem. And on top of that, they're about to face an even more critical situation soon. A higher probability of sabotage with more chances of attacks on all the leaders there, which is also a thing. I think this is the new phase. The only phase they might fear is that the regime could end up collapsing. And the calculation made by Mossad and the IDF is that it's possible. It seems that the United States isn't so sure, but at least Israel is telling them, yes, it's possible. That's how the regime could be ended. I don't know, honestly. We'll have to wait and see if that operation happens. But if it's really possible, they'll do it. They'll go after that regime. But if the calculation is doubtful, they'll stop right there too. So it's really interesting, honestly, the twists they're taking. Meanwhile, the Iranian national team heading to the United States, which is going to be really strange as well. Look, let's move on to another issue that's happening right now, which is, I insist, this new phase that's already beginning, conflict. Pay attention to this. In breaking news, right now, Saudi Arabia has intercepted 3 drones in an attack that originated not in Iran, but in Iraq. Well, that's just crazy because we're back to proxy wars. Iran doesn't want to get directly involved in the conflict anymore. That's why nobody knows who attacked. I mean, everyone assumes it's Iran because the attack came from there. But they say, we don't know what you're talking about. The attack on the nuclear plant in the United Arab Emirates. But now at this moment, they're reporting that there's a drone attack happening against Saudi Arabia. Notice, they hadn't targeted it before. Now you see, Saudi Arabia is very close to Pakistan, and they hadn't targeted it. Well, now they're attacking it, but interestingly, not from Iran. We have to remember that this is... Well, with satellites, they have a way to know where the attack is coming from, and it's not coming from here. Not towards here, but rather Iraq is the one that launched it. Well, obviously, pro-Iranian militias in Iraq are launching a drone attack towards Saudi Arabia. There are at least 3 of these, obviously. Obviously, this is developing information. So later on, we'll be watching to see if this takes a turn and shifts elsewhere. All right, with Lapes. Yes, 1 dead. Otros temas. How have you been? Thank you so much for joining us this weekend. Look, in just a moment, we have a report about attacks that are happening inside Israel. And also what's happening in Mexico with Rocha Moya. And with this supposed senator who was arrested, who wasn't arrested, who is free, who is, I don't know what. There are several topics. So we're going to be talking. As you know, well, we're going from one live segment to another, and we try to cover all the topics. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's quickly read some comments. How was your weekend? Ofe Mendes, good afternoon. Ofe, warm greetings. The dad says, he says everything is new. We read greetings, Nova's dad. Francisco Arce, Fer, how have you been? He says, yes, exactly. Let's see how oil opens. In a little while it will open, and we'll see if it goes up, if it shoots up, if not. I mean, let's see what happens, right? Let's see how the markets are really taking it, right? Walter, how have you been? And if Dan wants war, he says, I think so. It seems like that's the thing, right? I mean, they are really thinking about escalating things further, right? Rochi, how have you been? Warm greetings, good afternoon. Martin, Francisco Arce, Tiago, how have you been? We're waiting for the signals, says Tiago. Beatriz Alvarez, how have you been? Thanks for joining us. Greetings to Beatriz, Marvin, and the whole community. Juan Antonio, all the way to Uruguay, warm greetings. Well, see you. Let's go over there now. Let's go straight to IAP clips. Let's go to the next report, also live. Let's go over there.